Welcome back to downtown St. Louis and St. Louis Cardinals baseball on your home of the Cardinals all season long. FSN Midwest, a look at Union Station here in downtown St. Louis. Jack in the box, National League leaders in wins. Chris Carpenter and Dontrelle Willis. Carpenter a chance to match John Garland tonight for 16, which would be best not just in the National League, but in all of baseball. He'll try to do that when we come back. First pitch coming up next. Cardinal baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light. Great taste for your great times. By Auto Tire. For straight talk and great service, you ought to go to Auto Tire. And by Steak and Shake. Real steak, steak burgers, and real milk milkshakes served 24 hours a day at Steak and Shake. Those shots from the Edwardsville Glen Carbon Little League team practicing tonight as we get set for Cardinal baseball in game number 2 of this 4-game set. Jack McKeon, Trader Jack, a look at his lineup brought to you by Dodge. Juan Pierre, Luis Castillo, Jeff Conine here in the first, Miguel Cabrera bat cleanup, followed by Paul LaDuca, Juan Encarnacion, Mike Lowell, Alex Gonzalez, and Dontrelle Willis. Don't look past him. He's a very good hitting pitcher, batting .255 this season. On the mound, Chris Carpenter with a record of 15-4, and the first pitch is bunted down the third base line and foul. Strike one on Juan Pierre. 7:10 with our first pitch. And a warm, muggy night. 90 degrees here in St. Louis as Pierre digs in with a .270 average.
Speed is his game. He also leads the National League with 35 stolen bases, so the real key is to keep him off base.
Both corner positions, Pujols and Nunez are in. That's ripped down the right field line and into the corner. So Taguchi over to get it. Pierre is to second. And he'll stop right there. A leadoff double. Not the start that Carpenter wanted. A leadoff double by Pierre. Let's take a look at Carpenter's season so far, and he has been terrific as of late. 7-0 in his last 8 starts, and now he's 15-4 overall. His numbers brought to you by Advanced Auto Parts.
Number 1 in the National League in wins, 2nd in ERA, 3rd in strikeouts, 4th in pitch, and 3rd in winning percentage. Let's take a look. After the bunt, he might have just tried to throw a strike and left it down and in, a little cutter down and in, and that is a hitter's dream from the left side. And with his speed, he's already in scoring position.
Pressure on the defense here with a guy like Castillo. Very good bunter. A few seasons ago, back in 2000, he had 62 steals, so that gives you a little bit of an idea about his speed. Those numbers are down in the stolen base department, but he was an all-star this year. And with Pierre at second, the Marlins have an opportunity to really do some damage and again put that pressure on the Cardinal defense.
Great pressure on the defense, the speedsters. And even Juan Pierre, who thought about stealing third base with Nunez playing well in on the grass. Could he recover to get back? He's playing in here, and could he recover if Juan Pierre took off and tried to race to third base behind him?
Count of 2 balls and no strikes. Castillo lays down the bunt. Mahoney hops on it, only play to first, and they got him just by a step.
Took an exceptional play to get him, and that's Castillo doesn't run as well as he used to, but he made it a bang-bang play at first.
Very good play by Mike Mahoney. That was almost a base hit by Castillo. 1 out now. We go around the horn, and this is brought to you by Auto Tire. Cardinals defense tonight. John Gall in left, Jim Edmonds in center, so Taguchi in right, Abraham Nunez at third, David Eckstein the shortstop, Gertz-Alanek and Pujols on the right side of the infield. And here's a look at the catcher tonight, Mike Mahoney. They got him by maybe a half a step.
That was well out on the grass. Of course, with Pierre at second base, it was the intent to bunt it down the third baseline, hopefully get it by the pitcher, make the third baseman field it. But Nunez retreated back to the bag, hoping for a play, and tough play from Mahoney.
Conine lifts this one into center field, plenty deep to score Pierre as Edmond backs up and makes the catch, and it's 1-0 Florida, and the RBI by Conine is 14th. The sac fly to Jim Edmonds, and the Marlins have an early lead.
These two pitchers lead the National League in shutouts, so obviously Carpenter can't get his 5th shutout, but Dontrelle Willis has a chance for number 5. Willis leads Carpenter in complete games and the National League with 5 complete.
2 earned runs in his 22 starts this season. That's updated with that sacrifice fly RBI by Conine
in the first inning.
And that's it. He has been tremendous. Curveball misses low and away to the cleanup man, Miguel Cabrera. Opening day age 21. He turned 22 back on April 18th.
Talked about him a little bit in the open, but he is one of the best young players in the game.
At his age, the best.
Knee buckling curveball right there. Carpenter with 4 exceptional pitches, and I think one of the things that really makes him the winner that he is his demeanor on the mound, his competitiveness. But when he's out there, he takes charge.
Here's a 1-1 pitch, and a curveball that misses low. Think about this. For Cabrera, already 68 home runs in his brief career, and again, he's only 22 years of age.
He was basically first 2 years he was younger when Albert broke onto the scene.
Good pitch by Carpenter. 2-2. All-star for the second time was Cabrera for Tony La Russa's squad in the National League. Signed as a shortstop. Albert Pujols, coming through the Cardinals minor league system, was rated as their best third baseman. 2-2 pitch. Bounces in the dirt. And it's a full count with Paul LaDuca waiting on deck. But these two, you're starting a franchise. You probably look at Cabrera and Pujols in no particular order, but those two for sure. Two of the best young talents in the game.
And a lot of people think that Cabrera will be moved back to the infield, probably third base.
Here's a 3-2. Foul tip. Mike Lowell is locked up with Florida as they try to trade him away to Baltimore along with A.J. Burnett, but Lowell is locked up through 2008.
Isn't it interesting now as we find out a little bit more about Palmeiro's situation? That, they already had an appeal that was denied by the arbitrator, and now it makes sense that Baltimore was so active trying to get Lowell, trying to get Nevin, trying to get a bat to replace Palmeiro, knowing that he would be suspended.
Baltimore is 8.5 games out now.
I wonder how long did Major League Baseball know about Palmeiro's failed drug test?
And waiting until 3,000.
Thank you very much.
LaDuca with 2 outs and a runner at first.
And if that's the case, that's a tremendous indictment against Major League Baseball.
Another player suspended today.
Wayne Franklin.
It's amazing how many of these players that are suspended are Seattle Mariners.
And they all don't know anything about how things get in their body.
Brett Boone, former Mariner, released by Minnesota today as LaDuca hits this out to right center field. And coming on and making the catch, Sotaguchi. First inning run allowed by Carpenter, just the second this year. Dontrelle coming up. Dontrelle Willis, the starter for the Marlins, will face the Dodge lineup of the St. Louis Cardinals. It reads like this: David Eckstein, Sotaguchi, and Albert Pujols here in the first. Jim Edmonds, Mark Grudzielanek, John Gall, Abraham Nunez, Mike Mahoney, Chris Carpenter batting .043 this year. Dontrelle Willis, one of the best young pitchers in the game, a record of 14-6. Al, his numbers brought to you by Rico.
Well, he just stopped the 3-game losing streak with another shutout, his 4th of the season. But you can see these hitters are very perplexed. The first time or two you see Dontrelle with a very unusual windup. He really hides the ball, and he's all arms and legs coming at you, and then he throws hard enough that you don't pick it up until it's halfway there.
David Eckstein hitting .267. Looks at a fastball and a strike.
Very charismatic on the mound and high energy guy. Looks like he's having a lot of fun.
Quickly, 2 strikes on the batter. Cardinal leadoff man, shortstop Eckstein, that's now seen his on base percentage drop to .344. Average has dipped to .267. And it's 1-2, but he is one of the best 2-strike hitters in all of baseball.
I'd want to hit one off his kneecap, but
1-2 pitch. Going back to what we were talking about with what's happening with the steroids story. And it continues to evolve in the game of baseball. How about Ryan Sandberg addressing it in his Hall of Fame speech when he mentioned Andre Dawson as Eckstein is hit with the pitch. It's saying that here's a guy that put up fabulous numbers but did it clean and did it the right way. And I'm curious about your thoughts. How many of these guys do you think we should go back and look at? The Andre Dawsons of the world and some of the other players that are not in the Hall of Fame but put up pretty good numbers, not quite what we're seeing in the steroid era, but guys just prior to that and getting into the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's a very valid point. And there will have to be some type of correction as the offensive numbers have just gone off the chart.
Matt Morris.
But I will also say this. Ever since guys in my era or guys that I broadcast with are being elected.
And now so Taguchi is hit. So 2 that Willis is hit.
I think the Hall of Fame has become very watered down.
Dontrelle Willis hits the first 2 he sees.
Well, he really throws across his body. He slings the ball, his all arms and legs, and trying to get inside. He's, gotten a little too far inside. Showing shades of Doc Ellis. And of course, it was a night. It wasn't steroids. It was something else that Doc claimed he had in his system.
Well, some of these fans are booing, but Willis up by a run is not trying to hit the first 2 to get to Albert Pujols.
No.
Pujols is sitting on 29 home runs. I was about to make the point that recently Matt Morris was quoted in Sports Illustrated in an article, and he said the biggest difference he could see are outside pitches that were being hit for opposite field home runs are now legitimate outs.
Yeah, well,
guys just aren't driving the ball like they were.
Well, it used to be little second basemen or middle infielders that were taking outside pitches where, like you said, it used to be a can of corn, a fly ball. When they were hitting them out of the park opposite field, and that was not something that happened.
2-1 on Albert Pujols as Dontrelle Willis is wasting no time out there.
Well, he doesn't. And matter of fact, they tried to slow him down a little bit to try and help him get back to winning.
Albert pops it up. Foul territory. Get out of play. And it will. Good effort there by LaDuca, sliding near the Cardinal dugout. Albert's got another life, and it's 2-2. Former Dodger catcher Paul LaDuca, good effort here.
Just far enough away from him and not hit high enough to allow Conine or LaDuca to get there. So new life for Albert.
2-2. 2 runners on, 1-0 Florida here in the bottom of the first.
Albert 1 for 4.
And make it now 1 for 5
off of LaDuca.
Foul territory, infield fly call. Around the horn we go for the Florida Marlins defense. Brought to you by Auto Tire. Cabrera, Pierre, and Encarnacion in the outfield. Lowell, Gonzalez, Castillo, Conine on the infield. LaDuca is behind the plate. Here's Jim Edmonds.
Lefties have actually hit a little higher off of Willis than righties. 264 versus 255.
First pitch to Jimmy. Here's a ball outside. Home plate umpire tonight is Doug Eddings. Bruce Streckman at first. Bill Hahn at second. Jerry Davis, who was behind the plate last night, is at third. 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. They said Dontrelle Willis was getting the sign, and basically as he's getting the sign, he'd be in his windup and rushing everything to the plate, elevating his pitches, and that's when he went and had his problems, losing a couple of games in a row. He won his last time out, snapped a 3-game tailspin, and in that tailspin it was 23 runs in 13 innings. Not the guy that you saw in the early portion of the season. In June, 4-1, saw in July 2-3.
Well, he's always had much better first halves than second halves.
Strikes out Edmonds.
And very deceptive, but Dontrelle Has a lifetime mark of 2 and 6 in August, and Jimmy looks like he never saw the ball. Breaking ball is up there, and he just pulled off of it and just head's gone, the body's gone, and just swung.
2 down now. If the Cardinals got the first 2 runners on, it's 1st and 2nd. That's what we're talking about before the break. Willis with an ERA that's under 3, 13 wins. And Grzelcyk looks at a ball outside. It's been a struggle since then, but they feel that mechanically they've got him back on track. Defensively, it must be a dream to play behind Dontrelle Willis. Gets the ball and brings it to the plate.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that in today's game, as he's throwing a lot of pitches.
And he goes 3-0 on Grzelcyk with John Gall on deck.
Grzelcyk has hit .429 by far, the most at bats and most success.
3-1. The guy that works the fastest, at least time-wise, on average, is Mark Buehrle, and already 20 pitches for Dontrelle here in the first. Mark Buehrle of the White Sox and from this area. And it's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So the bases are loaded. The first 2 were hit, Eckstein and Taguchi. And a 2-out walk to Grzelcyk to load him up for John Gall. Batting .250 this season, looking for his first home run and first RBI.
Well, at Memphis this year, he is .429 with the bases loaded.
Made his major league debut with a double in his first at bat against former Cardinal Woody Williams out in San Diego.
Had 2 hits in that game, end up being 2 for 4, and now he's gone 0 for his last 4.
1-0 pitch. Fans didn't like it. 1-1.
Just see the way Gall kind of jumped out of the way at the end. He didn't pick that ball up until it was right on top of him.
Quickly 2 strikes now after a first pitch ball. 1-2. Well, the minor league player of the year for the Cardinals in 02 and 03, finally getting his shot here in the majors with all the injuries St. Louis has suffered. And John pops it up. So the Cardinals will strand the bases loaded. Castillo puts it away. 1 inning in the books. Float on top.
You're watching Fox Sports Net.
Sunday is Coca-Cola and Deerberg's Old School Lunchbox Day for all kids 15 and under with a paid admission. School around the corner. Want to send you off in style. We'll hope to see you here at the ballpark on Sunday. Old School Lunchbox Day coming up. The Braves will be in town, and good seats still available for all 3 of those games this weekend. I know a lot of folks thought that the series was sold out. It is not as of yet. And we hope to see you here at the ballpark as the Cardinals are bringing them in droves. They've drawn over 40,000 in their last 15 straight games here at home. And that pitch is hit hard to Nunez. Plenty of time, though, as he knocks it down for the first out to start play here in the top of the 2nd. I don't know about you, but I just love watching this guy play, Abraham Nunez.
Well, not only watching him play, but just being around him, because he's got a great personality. Came up on a little bit, but nice to see an infielder square up to a ball, so when he didn't catch it squarely, it was at his feet where he could pick it up and still make the play. But just a wonderful young man and pleasant surprise, you know.
Here's Mike Lowell. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Mike during the pregame show, who has picked it up as of late. The average has climbed to 245. He hit .322 in the month of July. Of course, he was not traded and still with the Marlins as he skies this one out to Edmonds. 2 down.
Said it last night. Say it again tonight. I think Marlins were going to be very thankful they didn't trade Lowell or A.J. Burnett. They're going to be a much better team with those guys, even if they lose Burnett to free agency.
Cardinals are going to see some tough pitching here tonight with Dontrelle Willis, then Josh Beckett tomorrow, A.J. Burnett on Thursday, over the weekend. It doesn't get any better. John Smoltz and Tim Hudson in 2 of those 3 games against Atlanta.
And remember, Delgado, a teammate of Carpenter's in Toronto, is on the bench with a bad elbow, or he'd be playing first base.
Look at that curveball, a beauty to Alex Gonzalez.
These guys share the same complex in Jupiter, so they're very much aware of Carpenter.
Got him to chase and a strikeout. First of the night for Carpenter and a 1-2-3 second inning. Marlins on top here in St. Louis. Cardinals trailing 1-0 here in St. Louis. Bottom of the second. You can email us here in our broadcast booth. The keyword is Cardinals booth. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN. Switch hitting. Abraham Nunez playing third base in replace of Scott Rowland. Will lead it off. Scott Rowland, part of the pregame show tonight with Jim Hayes, and indicated at some point he will be back this season. I know some people thought that at least there were rumors out there that he would not be coming back, but Scott says, oh yeah, I'm going to be back at some point. As slowly but surely I'm feeling better. Yadier Molina is expected to be back in a week and a half to 2 weeks for the Cardinals. He was working on blocking balls in the dirt and fired some throws to second base yesterday to test his injured hand on the field and some baseball related exercises. 1-2 on Nunez.
The toughest thing I think for Molina is going to be is catching certain pitches. It's his glove hand, but he'll be all right. And we welcome all these guys back, but look at how productive the team and farm system have been.
A strikeout of Nunez, number 2 tonight for Dontrelle Willis. It's 7, 8, and 9 in the order for the Cardinals in their half of the second. And here's the catcher, Mike Mahoney, who's been filling in. And Dave Duncan has raved about the way that Mahoney has called a game, called pitches, worked with his pitching staff. Longtime veteran of the minor leagues.
Team is 6-6 in his starts, while the pitcher recorded 3.52 ERA. And you got to remember, you're talking about a 6-6 record with a lot of firepower out of that lineup.
A check swing, 1 ball, 1 strike. Paul Pullman, a longtime employee of the ticket office here with the Cardinals, enjoying his birthday in the Stadium Club tonight. Happy birthday, Paul. Mahoney still looking for that first home run with the Marlins on top, 1-0. Pitch count will be high tonight for Dontrelle Willis if this is an indication of how he's going to pitch for the rest of the evening.
You notice the ankle support there
on his right leg.
The way he is so animated in his violent delivery, that puts a big strain on there. But that's not related to that car accident or anything, is it? I don't remember it in the past.
I don't believe so.
Could be, he might have rolled that ankle over recently.
2-2 pitch. He's worn that for a long time. Ever since he came up, he's worn that ankle brace. The car accident that you're referring to is back in 2003, and he calls himself a man of faith. And a big reason why is because of that car accident in which he was in his car in spring training in 2003, right before his rookie year. He rolled over in his car 5 times, and he was able to get 2 things out of that vehicle. One was his glove, and the other a Bible. And he said that was fate. As Mahoney hits it foul. You'll see him point to the sky at times.
Nice Tony La Russa imitation down there left field line. Young man caught the ball in his hat, a la Tony La Russa.
And here's a 3-2 pitch. Ball 4. So Willis here in the first 2 innings has hit 2 and he's walked 2. We talked about the negative things in the game of baseball as the pitch count is rising for Dontrelle, but this is one of the real feel-good stories of baseball. You don't think about steroids with this guy. I mean, you just think about a young man having fun on the mound, animated like you said, Al, and just enjoying every minute of it, playing in the major leagues. 1 out walk to Mahoney that brings in Chris Carpenter trying to sacrifice, and it's a foul ball.
How about that play by LaDuca? Pretty athletic, but
strong throw to second.
On a foul ball, it goes for naught.
Talked about the great start that Dontrelle had. He won 8 of his first 10, and with this record coming into play tonight, already this season at 14-6, that matches his best overall record, which was a season in which he was the Rookie of the Year at 14-6. As Carpenter pops it up behind home plate into the seats. Talks about the biggest influence in his life being his mother. A single parent, raised Dontrelle on the West Coast, and his mom is a welder. And he was saying to me that she's tough, man. That's how I was raised. She's tough, and you get to the major leagues, it's a time in which you should enjoy yourself. I'm pitching in the major leagues, and here my mom is a welder.
And you know, he's not going to change much, and his feet are going to be solidly on the ground.
As Carpenter can't help himself. A strikeout for Willis, and 2 in the inning, number 3 tonight in this ball game, and it's back to David Eckstein with 2 down. We'll show that windup time and again, and he said he developed that playing stickball as a youngster. They had a game with 2 of his best friends, and he said it was a strikeout game. So one of the things that he developed, Al, and I'm sure you've heard stories about this, guys that try different ways to get people out. He said this was one of the best ways I could do it. We had a tennis ball and a broomstick, and he said I tried every kind of windup you could imagine, and when I started doing this, I started striking my buddies out.
Wow, I love it. See all these guys today, or so you can have a picture perfect follow through so you can field your position. No, you don't. If you're a pitcher, you better have the best windup to get the ball maximum velocity and deception going to the plate.
Lifted out to center. Pierre drifting back, and he'll make the catch. Cardinals straying a man. They have left 4 on in the first 2 innings. A look at that Willis delivery to break. The Marlins with an RBI from Jeff Conine back in the first, lead it 1-0. Third inning here in St. Louis, and the Marlins in game number 2 of this 4-game series with a 1-0 lead. Dontrelle Willis will lead it off for Florida. This date in baseball history brought to you by Schnucks. Hugh Jennings is suspended for 10 days after using a 10 whistle while coaching third base for the Tigers back in 1907. So we've got steroids this year, but 1907 it was a whistle.
10 whistle too.
Things have changed just a bit. As Dontrelle looks at a ball outside. Dontrelle Willis, Juan Pierre, and Luis Castillo.
Touched on it. Dontrelle has fun standing in the batter's box.
Ground ball hit to Pujols. And that's 5 straight, set down by tonight's starter Chris Carpenter.
Really, the leadoff double, which very quickly became a run because of the speed of Juan Pierre. Is really the difference in this ball game, and then the Cardinals not be able to cash in and stranding 4 in the first 2 innings.
Congratulations to Placido Polanco, inking a 4-year extension with Detroit worth over $18 million for the former Cardinal.
Good for Placido. He had the leg problem, then he'd come back. He's a leadoff guy now, isn't he?
He is, batting .358 for the Tigers, and Dave Dombrowski, the general manager of Detroit, said not only a good player but a quality person as we knew him here in St. Louis. And he was in a battle with Chase Utley in Philadelphia, their second baseman, and vying for playing time, so found a home with Detroit, and it's paid off. 1 ball, 1 strike on Pierre. Curveball is spun outside. 2-1.
On some great curveballs, but he's had a few that have spun up there.
Hit foul out of play. 2 strikes. It's now 2-2 on Juan Pierre. Originally drafted by the Colorado Rockies, 13th round a few seasons ago.
Boy, everybody that has ever been associated with Juan Pierre loves him as a person.
I spoke to Rich Donnelly about him. This one is hit to short. Eckstein has to be quick. Rich Donnelly was in Colorado and has bounced around a little bit as a coach here in the National League. Was telling me he's the hardest worker he's ever seen in baseball. Well, that's the ultimate compliment, isn't it, when you get to this level?
Sure.
And money changes so many players and so many things, but not for Juan Pierre.
Well, he's not the most gifted. He has that great asset of running speed, and he has to work at the other aspects to his game, and at least you give him credit for understanding that and trying to better himself.
Remember Terry Shumpert?
Yes.
Juan Pierre credits much of his success to Terry Shumpert as Castillo slaps this past David Eckstein and into left field. 2-out hit, breaks a string for Chris Carpenter of 6 straight.
Terry Shumpert from Paducah, Kentucky, if I remember right, but the kind of guy that knew that he could help out a team, you know, as a utility player, but help the younger players and learn how to be a pro, but also how to discipline themselves.
Steve Finley also from
Paducah.
That's right. Here's Jeff Conine. He has a lone RBI tonight with a sacrifice fly in his 14th this season. And he taps it left side.
So are the Hosses.
Is that right?
Yeah. Chris Haas.
Paducah is one of the great minor league parks in the Midwest.
Build a new one.
It's an older one that they've upgraded throughout the years and kept it nice and clean, pristine, if you will. Up and into Conine. The guys in the truck are wondering if Jeff Parrott was from Paducah, Kentucky.
Well, I'll be one more to wonder.
And we wonder.
He might have been. And there again, he might not have been.
I couldn't believe you when I walked into the booth and you were dancing up here with the Liverpool legends out there. I mean, you were going nuts. I didn't know you had it in you, Al.
Brought back some of my youth.
Regular Ellen DeGeneres up here.
Made sure I didn't take my happy pill today so I could be in rare form.
2-2 the count on Conine. Castillo the runner at first base with 2 outs. Carpenter and Dontrelle Willis here tonight. You mentioned the name of Carlos Delgado, a teammate of Chris Carpenter's in Toronto, and the Marlins have played very good baseball with him on the bench. This is the 6th consecutive game in which he has not been in the lineup because of a sore elbow. So Conine getting a chance to play at first.
Yeah, they were hoping they'd have him back sometime this series, and they still may, but didn't seem like it was that promising after today's workout.
2-2 and a swing and a miss by Conine. He was way late on that swing. And that's strikeout number 2 of the night for Carpenter. Cardinals will have Taguchi, Pujols, and Edmonds coming up, down by a run. Cardinal baseball brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. We're ready in advance. Hey, get back. That's a double play. And by Rico. How well do you print, copy, scan, fax? How well do you share? Marlins lead it by the score of 1-0. It'll be numbers 2, 3, and 4 in the order for St. Louis is Taguchi. It's an out of play. If you missed it because our graphic was above the line drive, the guys over at Edwardsville, the Little League team, they know how to turn 2. Nicely done. You're right, Al. These batters are not picking it up against Dontrelle Willis, and that swing was a perfect indication of that.
Well, I mean, it's just old-fashioned, herky-jerky. Try to do whatever you can to not allow that hitter to pick up the ball and be deceptive.
Taguchi was hit by a pitch his first time. He lifts this one out to center, but right at Juan Pierre. Cardinals are still looking for the first hit against Willis. They've had the bases loaded, and they've had runners on in the first 2 innings. And here's Albert Pujols.
I think we can say Willis loaded the bases all by himself.
Hit 2 men and walked another. That'll do it. And with 2 men on, it was Pujols coming up, and he popped out to first. Edman struck out. A walk to Grudzielanek back in the first. Then Gall popped out to end the inning. Albert looks at his strike, low and away. Another one from Dontrelle Willis. Looked pretty good on the outside corner. 1-1. This is back in the first inning to Albert.
Swung the ball, got underneath it, popped it up, but
1-1 to Pujols. As Willis, the first 3 pitches, has been pounding the outside corner against Albert.
how many times as a hitter you just sit there and you try to see the release point? There's a good example of how we're saying guys are not picking up the ball, getting on top of them before they can react. But
and now that's a great pitch. I mean, the 3 previous, he's pounding the black on the outside corner. Then he comes right in on the hands of Pujols.
there he hides the ball well, and then he throws across his body, and he just comes right in there. Look at, he can't even hold both hands on the bat. So he works on both sides of the plate very effectively.
Goes back outside. Pujols reaches to Lowell. A rare miscue by Mike Lowell, and Pujols is thinking too. He's going to test Cabrera, hustling out of the box, and the Cardinals have another man in scoring position. To put it in perspective how good Mike Lowell has been defensively in his career, a .979 fielding percentage and an NL record just 7 errors last season. He's got the best fielding percentage of anybody in the history of the game. That includes Brooks Robinson over there at third base.
Well, he let that ball play him. And instead of coming in and kind of controlling the hop, he played back on it, played it sideways, and it looked like it hit right at the grass, and they cut out of the dirt and submarined on it.
Edmonds on the first pitch. LaDuca makes the catch. It didn't look like LaDuca shot off the bat initially. Then he had to adjust with a little help from his pitcher, Dontrelle Willis.
It's a very tough time a day for balls that are hit pop-ups, whether infield or not. You see, he doesn't react at all. He still doesn't know, and Dontrelle is trying to tell him, but it was high enough and able to recover. But at this time, the lights really haven't taken effect, but he just never saw that ball when it left the bat. Very rarely are you able to recover when you misjudge it that poorly at first.
Willis trying to pitch around the air by Mike Lowell, and now it's Grudzielanek. Pitch inside, 1 ball, 1 strike, and LaDuca says, "Thank you very much, Dontrelle, for helping me out."
Well, it's kind of mutual, you know, because Dontrelle saying, "Thank you very much. You got me a big second out with a man in scoring position," but that's a good lesson for all the infielders. This time of night, the lights haven't taken effect. Kind of a, you know, a sky that really the ball kind of gets lost in it, but rarely do you see a catcher not know that the ball's in the air.
Swing and a miss by the Cardinals second baseman. Marlins thought enough of Paul LaDuca to give him a long-term contract extension. He's in the first year of a 3-year, $18 million deal after coming over from Los Angeles. Dodgers still looking for a catcher. That's why we saw their young prospect catching over the weekend against St. Louis, Navarro. Just outside. Full count on Mark Grudzielanek with John Gall on deck.
You got these 2 guys. One jumps on the mound, and this guy's jumping in the batter's box. But they meet in the middle as Grudzelanek's 3 for 7 lifetime and a walk here tonight.
Another big crowd here tonight. And again, it's worth repeating, the Cardinals have drawn over 40,000 per game in their last 15 straight.
Yeah, and that's they won't lose that record There have been less than 40 sold for Tuesday against the Diamondbacks, the 16th of August, and Wednesday. There's a lot of seats available in that whole San Francisco series.
3-2 pitch, and it's ball 4. Third walk handed out by Dontrelle Willis. He's hit 2, he's walked 3. And already the pitch count at 59. So we're going to see the Marlins bullpen at some point tonight.
Not bullpen in that shabby either, but anytime you can knock the starter out and get to the middlemen, that's just about the Achilles heel of every ball club. The middlemen.
Gall is swinging a miss on the first pitch. Cardinals have stranded 4. They had the bases loaded back in the first. Runners at first and second. Pujols the runner at second. Grudzielanek is at first, and that one's going to get out of play.
Talk about John Gall facing Willis, you know, a 2-time organizational player of the year. But this was the year that he wasn't having his best season. Disappointed the last couple that he didn't get September call-ups, and about the time that he thought that, well, it probably wouldn't happen, don't worry about it, he got the call.
0-2 pitch. A defensive swing that time by Gall. He chased the ball, and it's 0-2.
Well, you can see a lot of these swings are very late, and as you said, defensive, just trying to get just kind of a chopping swing, trying to get a little piece of it, because they don't pick it up until it's already on them. You didn't see that.
Even right there, yeah. 1-2.
Now they just don't see the ball until it's released in 5 or 6 feet away from his release point.
And Gall out in front. Well, either he was guessing or picked it up early enough.
Yeah, and that's sometimes if you're way out in front like that, you leave yourself open for the off-speed pitch down and away.
Well, then you look down by a run.
You look for that one, and he runs one right back in under your hands. Back away.
Here's a 1-2. And John Gall lifts it into right field, and it drops for a hit. The game is tied. St. Louis now with the lead. To the plate we go. Gall all the way to third. 2-1 Cardinals.
Well, it's that ankle. It's Grudzielanek's ankle. His left one was right into the shin guard of LaDuca.
Al, I think Grudzielanek actually stopped at second base and looked back at right field. There's 2 outs. He's got to be running all the way. Replay will show it, and we'll see exactly if he did or not. But the effort out there by Encarnacion as the ball gets away from him, and Gall is all the way at third. And Mark would come in to score the Cardinals' second run a little closer than maybe he thought.
See, he jammed that leg. It's his right leg right into the foot and shin guard of the catcher, LaDuca. But his foot crossed the plate ahead of it. And I watched John Gall. He stumbled and almost tripped around second base. But those are his first 2 RBIs in the big leagues. And as he made an impression just in his short time with that swing. Mark Wiley out to visit.
So that's the Cardinals' first hit tonight, and now they lead it 2-1. There's a late break by the right fielder Encarnacion. I thought he was going to catch it initially off the bat. First pitch, a strike, a low one to Abraham Nunez.
2-out base hit would be very nice right here.
So the error by Mike Lowell cost Willis and the Marlins. A swinging bunt. Dontrelle picks it, tags out Nunez, and the Cardinals strand a man, but they pick up 2. They've left 5 on in this game. John Gall, congratulations, his first Major League RBIs to make it 2-1. Well, if you'd like to turn your treasures into cash, take them to Selling Block. You can check it out online at sellingblock.com or 783 eBay. 2-1 St. Louis. Cabrera walked his first time up, was left stranded back in the first. Florida jumped out to a 1-0 lead. Cardinals have taken the lead now, 2-1. 4, 5, and 6 in the order due up for the Marlins. Pitch a little upstairs, and it's 2-0 on Cabrera.
Cabrera has a 13-game hitting streak, a new career high, 451 during that time. So he pitching him very careful.
He's got 5 home runs during this streak, and lines it down the right field line. It is slicing and foul, out of play. Houston starts play tonight, and they will be in Arizona with Roger Clemens on the mound, 57-48, and they lead the wild card by a game over Washington. And Florida is just 2 games back in the wild card, 5.5 games out in the East. And to put in perspective just how bad the West Division of the National League has been, if any of those teams, and Arizona's in first place, that's hard to believe at 52 and 55. If any of those teams were in the National League East, the first place team would be a game or 2 back from the cellar. I mean, that's how bad they would be. Here's a 3-1 pitch. Cabrera helps out Carpenter, full count. Oakland leads over in the American League, and it's 2 really great stories when you talk about Houston and Oakland, 2 teams that in the first half were at one point 15 games below the 500 mark, and here they are, both those teams leading the wild card. A swing and a miss and a strikeout for Carpenter. His 3rd strikeout of the ball game. This fall, the NFL returns to Fox for another season of the game's biggest names, most storied teams, and unforgettable moments. Fox NFL Sunday returns this September only on Fox. 3 strikeouts in the game, 2 consecutive for Carpenter. And the batter is Paul LaDuca. He flied to right his first time up. First pitch, a strike.
Carpenter trying to become baseball's first 16-game winner. John Garland is trying to do the same for the White Sox.
Look at that knee buckling curveball from Carpenter. Beauty, and it's 0-2.
Carpenter is leading 2-1. Garland is losing 5-2.
That's another chance, Al, for Chris Carpenter to show the people outside of St. Louis and in the national media just how good he is. Another matchup, a premier matchup here in the second half. A lot of people around baseball thought Dontrelle Willis, with all the flair that he brings to the game, should be your starter in the National League. Others believe that maybe Roger Clemens should be, but Tony La Russa went with his man Chris Carpenter. 4 strikeouts now for Carpenter.
Let's go back to Cabrera's at bat. He's got a 3-1 count and just over anxious, thinking he's going to get a pitch to hit, and that's why he took a little walk, as he swung at ball 4. And sometimes a good pitcher, that's all they need.
Encarnacion, the batter. Another beauty of a curveball. These fans appreciate it. Those especially behind home plate can see the action on old Uncle Charlie.
Carpenter struck out 3 in a row. You see, I mean, he's got 4 great pitches. And he's got to be selling that sinker. As you see, they're going after pitches that are out of the strike zone. Curveball, he wanted to bounce it. Then he didn't want the cutter. Didn't want the fastball in, fastball away.
0-2 pitch. Right back to him, and he's got it. A liner back to Carpenter. Look what I found. Thank you very much. And a 1-2-3 inning. His second 1-2-3 inning in the ball game tonight. Midway through the 4th, Cardinals on top 2-1. Win one for the kids charity fund for the Suntrup Group. 119 home runs. And that's pitch number 69 from Dontrelle Willis as we start play here in the bottom of the 4th.
Well, you know, Jack McKeon is not going to be one of those guys that keeps a close eye on the pitch count.
2-0 pitch to Mahoney. Strike at the knees on the outside corner. Trader Jack. He had some guys that were out there, as we talked about. A.J. Burnett, Mike Lowell, The right fielder, Juan Encarnacion, his name was mentioned a lot too in trade talks and speculation.
He got that nickname Trader Jack when he was general manager, and primarily with San Diego. He engineered that big trade with the Cardinals that brought Ozzie.
Ozzie, of course, from San Diego to St. Louis, the Hall of Famer. And speaking of trades, it was a terrific trade the Marlins made with the Chicago Cubs. As this one is popped up on the infield, Willis is going to take it himself. A rare pop-up caught by the pitcher, but back in 2002, Antonio Alfonseca and Matt Clement went to Chicago for 3 minor leaguers, and one of the players that was involved in that deal, the man on the mound, Dontrelle Willis. And Alfonseca is back with Florida. Not in the closer's role, but as a setup man. And a strike to Carpenter, who struck out his first time up.
At least I'm pretty sure he was general manager that time, or when Ozzie came over, but he's been a field manager, general manager, a lot of different, worn a lot of hats in this game. He's a fun guy to be around. He's got a book. He's a grandfather.
He's got the stogies going.
Oh yeah, tries to treat his players, try to teach them how to win, and say, guys, we're going to just go out there and play the game right.
Carpenter pops it foul out of play, a ball and 2 strikes. Look at the necklaces worn by Dontrelle Willis. They're flying all over the place.
2 runs the Cardinals scored off of Dontrelle are unearned because of the error by Lowell.
The 1-2 pitch at the knees. Bit inside for Carpenter. Willis tonight has struck out 3. And he has walked 3.
And hit 2 batters. It's going to be more than 80 pitches through 3 innings.
(3-2). Sharply hit to short. Nice play by Gonzalez. Tricky hop at the end of that. 2 down. David Eckstein, one of those players that was hit by a Willis pitch. First time up back in the first inning for St. Louis. He hit the first 2 he saw. He saw Eckstein and Taguchi. Also walked a man back in the first. The bases were loaded. Got out of that jam. Cardinals already in the first 3 innings stranded 5. Reggie Sanders and Larry Walker looking on.
You know, those guys want to get back in there, but you also part of it saying, I'll wait till it's a different pitcher.
Maybe a different week.
We're talking about Doc Ellis. 2 things that come to mind with Doc Ellis. He threw a no-hitter and claimed that he was on LSD. And he had another game where he said he was going to hit everybody he faced.
Willis, good play off the mound.
He hit the first 5 guys before he got ejected.
1-2-3 inning for Dontrelle. We move to the 5th. And St. Louis on top 2-1.
You're watching FSN Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
Another great pitching pairing tomorrow night. Matt Morris leads the Cardinals against Josh Beckett and the Marlins. Game 3 of the 4-game set here in St. Louis. Live coverage begins at 6:30. Cardinals tonight on FSN Midwest. Carpenter back to work. Mike Lowell, the first hitter, he will see. First pitch is popped up out of play. Mike Lowell, a 20th round selection back in 1995 by the Yankees. And in 99 he was traded to the Marlins with lefty Ed Yarnall. He was the prize man in that deal, along with Mark Johnson and Todd Noel. And the Marlins picked up Mike Lowell. Falls behind 0-2. Little grounder to Nunez. Cuts it off before it gets to Eckstein. Lowell over 2. 5 straight set down. As Marty Mason works there with Julian Tavares, who has been roughed up in his last couple of outings. He got helped out on a great play by Abraham Nunez last night. Tony La Russa has talked about the role that Marty Mason plays with this club. He always keeps a book, just like Dave Duncan does, on opposing hitters. Takes a look at that lineup and what certain matchups may present themselves throughout a game. And he's also a free spirit out there, so he fits in perfectly with the guys in the bullpen. Keeps it loose.
Yeah, and you know, he was a pitching coach before he got to the big leagues, where Dave Duncan was a catcher. So he was a pitcher, and I think what he was really doing with Tavares is, as you said, he's gone through this little rut. So he was talking about moving maybe on the rubber, because his movement, the ball moving, coming back into the middle of the strike zone, not staying in where he wanted it, catching a little bit too much of the plate. So you just kind of work on a couple things that way. It's real tough in the bullpen, because, you know, starters can do it in between starts. Relief pitchers a lot of times don't want to throw too much, and so you really can't work on it unless they're warming up. But then they're warming up for a critical part of the game, and you just don't feel like you have the chance to do it.
It's not like the Cardinals have much time off this month. Last time the Cardinals played an entire month with just one day off was June of 1971. Cardinals with one day off in the month of August.
It's a nice do-rag.
Hopefully there's not a lot of pine tar on that bill of the cap. Another strikeout for Carpenter.
Number 5.
Hardy's hot pitch of the game here from Carp.
He's had that curveball working, but he also has 4 outstanding pitches. He's got a 2 and 4-seam fastball. There's actually 5 if you count that as 2. He's got the cutter, he's got a changeup, and he's got the good overhand curve.
Willis pulls it to Pujols. What a play by Albert. Wow. Terrific play by Albert Pujols. Jimmy's all smiles trotting in. Taguchi, Pujols, Edmonds coming up. Cardinals with a lead of 2-1 as we move to the bottom of the 5th here in downtown St. Louis and Busch Stadium. Dog days of summer. The 15th is the only open date for St. Louis after a 4-game set at Wrigley Field. Then we'll welcome Arizona to St. Louis, as we'll get a look at the National League West with Arizona and San Francisco. And the Cardinals do have one long road trip coming up.
There's another stop after that. First 3 games in September are at Houston, so really a 2-week road trip for City.
And the first pitch to Taguchi.
And on that road trip, we'll see Dontrelle probably. We'll definitely see the Marlins.
First pitch a strike, the second one fouled back.
Got a chance on that trip also to go to Washington, play the Nationals. You want to go to the White House?
I've been invited, actually, but not sure if I'm going to be able to make it. Are you going?
Well, we'll see.
And Taguchi stays in there, 0-2 the count.
I've been there before.
Just hanging out?
Or meetings. Can't tell you what room.
Taguchi reaches. Mike Lowell for the first out. And it brings in Albert Pujols. One out, nobody on. Pujols on the first pitch. Hits it out of play. Albert tonight reached on an error and scored on the double by John Gall. 2-run double. Also popped out to first. Pujols has been one of the hottest hitters in this lineup. He was, prior to the game tonight, 13 for his last 29, 3 home runs in his last 7 games. He's now just 1 for 6 against Dontrelle Willis in his career.
7-game hitting streak for Albert, and got to do it against a tough pitcher. He's batted .369 since the All-Star break with 7 home runs and 16 RBIs.
Count of 2 balls and 1 strike.
And great defensive plays.
The last one was a dandy, wasn't it, off of Dontrelle Willis's bat? Last night was one of the best double plays we've seen the Cardinals turn all year. They're one of the league leaders in double plays turn. The diving stop by Nunez, third base line, and then picked by Pujols on the other end on the throw, and then alertly threw back to third base to get the runner Encarnacion. Here comes a 2-2 pitch to Albert. Ripped down the third base line. Fair ball into the corner. Ball was just absolutely smoked by Pujols. Slips on the bag, and he's all right. 1-out double for Albert.
You can hit balls as hard that go out of the ballpark, but not any harder. As this time he just turns on that ball and a line drive down in the left field corner, slinging out there and a rocket back. Set up inside, and he left it middle half in. You don't do that with Albert and get away with it.
Jimmy looks at a strike. Edmonds tonight has struck out, popped out. Foul territory to the catcher, Paul LaDuca. Cardinals with a 2-1 lead. Both teams with 2 hits aside. And the ball gets away. Pujols advances to third base. Dontrelle Willis has just been all over the place tonight.
Well, that's got to be scored a pass ball. Ball taken off, but I mean it's still got to be caught.
Runners in scoring position. The Cardinals 283 on the season, so they have been very good there, but just 1 for 6 tonight. Cardinals have stranded 5 runners this evening as Edmonds hits a rope into right field, and it's 3-1 St. Louis. Jim Edmonds with his 65th RBI.
Not the highest batting average for Edmonds, but 20 home runs now, 65 RBIs. Still trying to find it. And there he get that breaking ball, didn't get it far enough away, was able to hammer it.
So back-to-back hits, the double by Pujols, a single by Jim Edmonds, and an RBI. Check on him over at first. That was a little closer than we like. 95 pitches already thrown by Dontrelle tonight. We're only in the bottom of the 5th.
That was just 1 out. I wonder if he's going to be able to go much more than 5.
He made the last out in the top half of this inning. No activity in the Florida bullpen. Cardinals with 3 hits. Marlins with 2. And one of the guys that was very vocal about Jeff Torborg and his staff prior to Jack McKeon was A.J. Burnett, who will start on Thursday. Pitch counts would get high when Jeff Torborg was the manager. I guess you could say the same about Dusty Baker and some of the heat that he has taken with Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. Report out of Los Angeles. I don't know if you heard about it, but one of the papers, I think it was the LA Times, said that Dusty Baker is interested in taking over the Dodgers job if it opened up.
Yeah, I knew about it, but then he denied it. Dusty played for the Dodgers and was quoted by a good friend that he was dying to go to the Dodgers. But as I said, Dusty, a day or so later after the report, probably a little embarrassed by it.
99 pitches thrown by Willis, and Dusty does, after this season, have 1 more year on his contract. Pays him a bundle of money.
Yeah, he did say if Tracy was not retained, but still.
A 2-out, 2-run single by Aramis Ramirez, speaking of the Cubs, in the bottom of the 8th to give Chicago a 2-0 lead at Philadelphia. 2-2 pitch. Grudzielanek shoots it foul.
you know, unless that good friend of Dusty's is Santa Claus, that's probably one of those wishes you shouldn't talk about.
I mean, Dusty has made a ton of money in managing with his time in San Francisco and what he has done as De Los Santos gets loose. What he's done with the Chicago Cubs.
Get a little pressure.
Well, people put a lot of heat on him. It's because the expectations have been so high for the Chicago Cubs after back-to-back winning seasons. And Al, that was the first time they've had back-to-back winning years since the early 1970s.
Yeah, well, as just like players, you know, if you want to be paid a lot of money, you know, comes with higher standards. Just like the Bank of America, you know, you got to have a higher standard if you're going to get a lot of money, and you have to be held to them like Bank of America.
The sponsor's going to love you, Al. A little extra plug for Bank of America. Way to go.
Did we really say Bank of America that many times?
We do it a lot.
Oh.
Pitch to Gall is hit to third. Nice pick by Lowell. Force play at second. Cardinals with an RBI by Edmonds add to their lead. It's 3-1 St. Louis. Hi. Scott Rowland in our Busch Beer countdown tears off number 27. From the right field wall, peels it off. Number 27 peeled off by Scott Rowland. This week, FSN Midwest and WIL. Why am I reading this? You're the one that's doing this whole deal. Tickets to an upcoming
Cornbread
game.
and I got this all down.
A chance to meet Al Raboski on the field before a game. You go to foxsports.com. The keyword is Midwest. For details, listen to Al and Cornbread.
Yes, hopefully they'll give me the details by then. That's going to be Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, I'll be tuned in.
8:30.
I'll be up, I guarantee it.
Oh.
Quickly, it's 0-2 on the leadoff man, Juan Pierre.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make some cornbread.
And bring it to the one and only
one and only.
Ritzalonic to his right. Mark is not showing any ill effects after limping away from a slide at the plate.
He sure isn't, but I'll tell you one thing. He deserves a gold glove for his play at second base.
He's got a chance to win it.
He should win it. By far the best fielding percentage by any National League second baseman, the most assists, the most double plays turned.
His counterpart, Luis Castillo, is at the plate, has won the last two. It's a guy that when he hits from this side of the plate is almost running out of the box. He had 43 infield hits a season ago. And because of that great speed, he can go in these long stretches where he piles up game after game with hits. A few seasons ago, he had a 35-game hit streak.
Now, when I throw cornbread at him.
Remember Chucky Carr? It was Luis Castillo that broke his stolen bases record in Florida. He had 62 back in 2000.
Remember when Chucky was with the Cardinals?
Sure do.
We're in spring training. Stan Musial was down the dugout to throw out the first pitch for the exhibition season. Everybody's crowded around Stan and talking to him, and Chucky goes, "Al, who's that?" I said, "Well, that's Stan the man." He goes, "Who's that?" I said, "Well, that's Stan Musial." He goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "Oh, I used to play."
And Chucky should not be embarrassed. That's the case for a lot of major league players. Carpenter's in his zone. He's allowed just 2 hits in 5 2/3. And this Thursday, August 4th, the Cardinals and the Shane Company teaming up to bring the first 20,000 fans, 16 and over, a paid admission, specially designed Cardinals tote bag. So don't miss your chance to see the Cardinals take on the Marlins for the last time during the regular season here at Busch.
I went to see Stan today.
And how's he doing?
He's doing great. He looked great. Just came back from Cooperstown. The lovely bride Lil was there and enjoyed the festivities, but said something to me today that I had never heard before.
And a ground ball up the middle off the bat of Conine. Nice play by Ritzalonic. Talk about your conversation with Stan the man when we come back in the bottom of the 6th. The 1-2-3. Top of the 6th for Chris Carpenter. 3-1 St. Louis. Willis is out. What's on tap brought to you by Budweiser. Marlins and the Cardinals, game number 3 will come your way at 6:30 with Cardinals tonight. Matt Morris, 11-4, will take on Josh Beckett. He's 10-6. Marlins and Cardinals beginning at 6:30 tomorrow night. Your conversation as we look at Jack McKeon visiting with Dontrelle Willis. You had a chance to visit with Stan the Man.
Yeah, first of all, I was going to say, how many times you take a pitcher out when he only has 3 hits and allowed 1 earned run?
3 hits allowed, but tonight Willis control a little bit of a problem as he walked 3 and hit 2.
Daniel Santos will come into his 24th ball game. He's a cousin of Encarnacion. But Stan the Man, I was kind of waiting for to have a hitter foul a ball off his foot or his leg. Stan said, I don't ever remember in his era batters fouling balls off their legs. He said nobody ever had any shin protectors or anything like that. Then we kind of deduced, as he said, well, we didn't have the sliders coming in on you, but yet, they had spitters. Those were legal at some point. They still had power sinkers, but he felt like everyone had more of a line drive level swing. And he just said, I've never seen so many guys foul balls off their foot. And then he said, I've never remembered it in my era. I thought it was very interesting.
I'd love to be in a conversation, or at least have the chance to listen into some of those Hall of Famers and get their thoughts on what they're watching now with modern baseball and the steroids saga. What Stan the Man thinks, and some of the other Hall of Famers that gathered in Cooperstown over the weekend.
I'm not going to speak for him, but
well, there's no doubt.
You can only imagine some of their thoughts.
They've got to be so disappointed. Nunez caught a break. 2-2. Nunez has struck out and grounded out. With Nunez, Mahoney, and Carpenter. Cardinals leading 3-1 here in the bottom half of the 6th.
3 runs, but only 1 was earned. The last one.
Popped up behind home plate. That'll find the seats.
Nunez had his career high 9-game hitting streak stopped last night. Still play that great defense he's displayed all season.
He has thrived filling in for Scott Rowland when he starts at third base. 2-2 pitch. Got it.
He's hit .389 since the break, and he couldn't believe that high strike.
As Josh Beckett is charting these pitches against the St. Louis Cardinals. You don't see that very often anymore.
No, you do not.
What they used to be able to do, the Cardinals starter, before they added those screen seats and the backstop behind home plate, there was a little area where the umpires come out from where they dress and shower, and a tunnel, and in that tunnel the starting pitcher for the next day would be back behind there charting all the pitches.
Yeah, he'd work out with the team and then after batting practice, shower, get into civilian clothes, or sometimes they put on some type of auxiliary clothing and sit back there and chart the pitches.
They also have a gun up there too.
Yeah. It reminds me of Joe Cunningham, and we need to call Joe and make sure he's feeling better after having a quadruple bypass surgery. He'll be back in September doing his elementary school program.
Good play by Lowell again, 2 down.
But he was my first minor league manager, and we had an overnight trip into California, or not an overnight trip, just a half-hour trip. So I had Peter Cunningham, was 4 years old, and I was supposed to chart pitches for the game and watch Peter. Typical game for us was 576 pitches were thrown that day, and I came in after the game and said, Mr. Cunningham, I apologize, but I was only able to record 4 of the 576 pitches. And he said, you were watching Peter, and I said, yes sir, I was. He said, it's quite understandable.
Peter was a little rough to watch, huh?
Peter was a little rough to watch. He gave his lovely mom Kathy a heart attack that summer.
A 1 pitch to Carpenter, and he taps it to short. Gonzalez Little throw over to Jeff Conine, and the Cardinals are done in their half of the 6th. Carpenter's allowed just 2 hits tonight. He goes back to work in the 7th.
Where Cardinals fans come first.
Cardinal Baseball is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack invites you to come in and experience ciabatta. It's all about the bread. By your local Chrysler Jeep dealers. And by U.S. Cellular. U.S. Cellular, we connect with you. Part of the order coming up now for the Florida Marlins. 3-1 St. Louis, top of the 7th. Cabrera, LaDuca, and Encarnacion combined in this ball game, just 5 hits. As Chris Carpenter is trying to become the first 16-game winner in the National League. John Garland already a 16-game winner for the White Sox. Carpenter, 23 of his last 25 pitches have gone for strikes. So now make it 24 of his last 26. That's how locked in Chris Carpenter has been. Back to Carpenter. He's fielded his position well tonight. That's 11 straight he has set down.
That one a little easier than the line drive off the bat of Encarnacion, but still, that's how effective he's been.
And it brings in Paul LaDuca. 25th round pick by the Dodgers out of Arizona State was LaDuca from Brooklyn, New York. Not a very big catcher. He's only 5'10", and it took him a long time to get to the major leagues. He was 29 when he finally made it up.
And it just goes to show you that size has nothing to do with heart, determination, perseverance. It's nice to have big guys, but see what the first pitch strikes, but it's just been strike, 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 period.
2-0. LaDuca was included in the deal that brought Encarnacion and Mota to Florida.
How about that ratio? 50 strikes, 18 balls.
2-0 pitch. Gets him to reach, hits it out of play. Marlins would give up Brad Penny and Keesop Choi in that deal. 21 starts. You see the numbers and the pitch counts on average for Carpenters. He wants to visit with Mahoney.
Wants the umpire. He may have a problem with the mound. There's a new rosin bag, maybe.
Well, yeah, I think so, because he is sweating so much, and a couple of those curveballs,
yeah,
he doesn't have a grip on. They've been high in the zone, so he's going to ask a new one for the rest of this ball game.
There you can see the rosin out there. It's kind of funny because, you know, they say you can't use anything. The hitters can use pine tar and different things, but rosin has sort of a tackiness to it, but it's sort of the powdery substance that keeps your hand a little dry, but sometimes you mix it with a little bit of moisture, perspiration, then you get a little tacky, a little stickiness to it.
And that one is hit out of play, and the count is now 2-2. Was 2-0.
I played with a left-handed reliever in Atlanta, Larry Bradford, and he would take a rosin bag and he would just bounce it, a really heavy one, for 10-15 seconds and get all that dust, and you throw a pitch and you'd be a puff. You can get away with it every now and then.
2-2. He got a check swing and a strikeout of LaDuca. That's number 6 tonight for Carpenter. Pitch by pitch feature brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers.
He just has such good stuff. You know, a lot of times he'll get ahead with one pitch and can waste a couple pitches, but trying to. But then when he starts working you over, and he's got 4 different pitches to guard against, and there's a little check swing on a little cutter.
Encarnacion for Florida. Lifts it out to center. Edmonds coming on. He'll make the catch. And here in St. Louis, Chris Carpenter in the midst of another gem. Just 2 hits allowed, and it's time to stretch with St. Louis on top by the score of 3-1. Christina Landis is tonight's merchandise winner in the Hyundai long drive inning sweepstakes. If the Cardinals hit a home run in the 7th, Christina qualifies for the Hyundai Tucson drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer. Top of the order for St. Louis. It's a lead of 3-1 here at Busch Stadium in Game 2 of this 4-game set. Eckstein tonight is 0 for 2. He's 0 for 7 in the series. He's due, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. The Cardinals will have Eckstein, Taguchi, and Pujols in their half of the 7th.
0 for his last 8. Excuse me, 0 for his last 10.
Strike 1 from De Los Santos, his 2nd inning of work in relief of Dontrelle Willis, who lasted 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, 1 of those earned. 3 hits. He walked 3, hit 2. And struck out 1 on the night. Billed as a pitcher's duel between Chris Carpenter and Dontrelle Willis here tonight. And we've got just 5 hits combined as we start play here in the bottom of the 7th.
This time the Cardinals saw De Los Santos, who was pitching for Milwaukee.
3-1 pitch. And it's ball 4. Second time that Eckstein has been on base tonight. He was hit by a pitch back in the 1st and draws a leadoff walk here. And it brings in Sho Taguchi. Remember when McGuire would come up in these spots? If you sacrifice, then you leave first base open. And many times then the opposing team will walk McGuire, or in this case Albert Pujols, intentionally.
There were times Tony also said, so be it, and I'll take my extra runner on base, take my chances, not knowing whether his sacrifice is in order. De Los Santos throwing over to first base, let the bench read Taguchi's body language to see if he was showing bunt.
First pitch to Sho is a strike. Taguchi has been hit by a pitch. He's lined out to center and grounded out to third. 3-1 Cardinals. Picked up an RBI double by John Gall, his first major league RBIs back in the 3rd. Then made it 2-1. Then an RBI single by Edmonds with the infield drawn in back in the 5th. Taguchi lines it into center field. Eckstein will stop at second base, and here comes that man again. It's Albert Pujols. Best damn sports show period, the greatest nightly sports show on television, with host Chris Rose and co-host John Sally, Rob Dibble, and Rodney Pete. It's the best damn sports show period tonight after the post-game show, only on FSN Midwest. First 2 have reached, and Pujols, who has been on base twice and scored 2 runs, will dig in. And now Florida's bullpen getting active.
Yeah, we're talking about sometimes if you sacrifice and they go ahead and walk, you know, you look and see what Edmonds is against his left-hander. He was 3 for 8 with 2 home runs. So they wouldn't mind that if they would have sacrificed and they chose to walk Pujols. Mark Wiley, a very slow walk out to talk to his pitcher. I couldn't believe that he didn't step off, because Eckstein really leaning like he wanted to steal. And it was a one-way lead, because when the pitch was made, he came back to the plate. But sometimes that split concentration becomes an ineffective pitch to the plate.
Marlins do have a left-hander getting loose
on Vallone
in their bullpen, and it could be Jason Vargas as well. I can't see from here, but Vallone pitched in the ball game last night, an inning and a third.
It's Vallone.
So it is Ron Vallone.
He's one of those workhorses, but it also must tell you how much confidence they have in Vargas.
Pujols, 2 runs scored, a double back in the 5th. 2 for 6 in this series. First and second. First pitch to Albert. Nice block by LaDuca.
Ooh, Taguchi.
He was off to second.
Yeah, he almost didn't realize that the lead runner Eckstein in front of him didn't take off, and he was more than halfway. Conine didn't come back towards the bag at all.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Albert. Strike 1. De Los Santos ripped through the Cardinals in the bottom of the 6th. But that was the bottom of the order to start this inning with Eckstein. He walked him, and then Taguchi, the single to center field. 1 ball, 1 strike on Albert. A late strike call as Pujols had stepped out of the box.
It looked like a strike, but Albert a little bit surprised.
Albert reaches. Could be a double play, and it is. He's upset with the home plate umpires. He glares down to home plate. 4-3 on the double play. Eckstein advances from second to third. And it's going to take a 2-out hit by Edmonds.
And McKeon knows about that. He knows about that stat, and he's going to bring in a double switch to bring in his other left-hander.
Pujols a defensive swing, and you don't see that very often. I'm sure he felt a bit unsure about the strike zone and went after a pitch that he normally doesn't go after. De Los Santos, his night is done. An inning and 2/3. Edmonds coming up. 3-1 St. Louis here in the bottom half of the 7th.
Check this out. It's the Mercury Montego.
Ron Vallone was a workhorse with the Seattle Mariners, and those numbers and his lone appearance with the Marlins, and he went last night an inning and a third as he began the 7th and faced Nunez, Pujols, and Edmonds. He got Edmonds last night to ground out to second. Career events against Vallone, 7 for 20, a pair of home runs, and against De Los Santos, 3 for 8.
He allowed just 1 run in his last 20 appearances.
2 outs, a runner at third. Cardinals up as Edmonds is hit with a pitch. As he squared to bunt, where did it hit him is the question. He looks back at Vallone and just smiles.
We're trying to decide whether they say he's been hit by a pitch or not. Trying to figure out what the umpire ruled. Jimmy's acting like he's not getting awarded a base. Take a look at it. Scary situation up around the head. He's squaring around the bunt. Fouled it. So it hit the bat. He fouled the ball. Up and in.
And he squares right up to the pitcher, and then ball coming right at his head.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that you're taught a lot of time. You got that runner at third base, you know, safety squeeze. Why is he squaring to bunt?
It was a curious move over the weekend that he did too.
Well, I mean, that's where you say, come on, you know, you're one of the big RBI guys. We know we have to manufacture runs, but you know, you're one of the guys that you're not asking to play little ball. You play your regular ball.
Edmonds trying to respond and hits it high in the air into right field. Should be caught, and it is. That ends the 7th. Cardinals trying to run her third, and it's 3-1 St. Louis as we head to the 8th.
Well, the and Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
Cardinal fans get in-game alerts, scores, breaking news, and more on your mobile phone for $3.99 a month. Text the word cards to 65246 or MLBGO, and charges will appear on your mobile phone bill. John Rodriguez takes over for John Gall in left. Here's Mike Lowell to face Chris Carpenter, who has been tremendous once again tonight. As Lowell spins away from that pitch.
Just in case it might be inside, he was aware of it.
Carpenter is set down 13 in a row, and that's strike 1 to Mike Lowell.
Leadoff double. Start this game, came around to score, and then the second hit in the 3rd inning. And that's it for the Marlins. Only other base runner, a walk in the 1st.
Pitch count has been very efficient tonight by Carpenter. Once again, he gets a sign. started his windup, and then time was called.
Lowell called time and was granted. Carpenter's the one that's setting the pace.
Another curveball hammered foul. Got away with that as he hung that breaking ball. One and two, the count on Mike Lowell. Fly to center, grounded out to third. Another curveball hit to Nunez. Special moment at the ballpark a few weeks ago is Al, you had a chance to visit with that young man on the mound.
That's right. Specialist Brian Winston. We talked to he and the rest of his National Guard company from Missouri and Iraq, Camp Dangerous. He's in our truck right now as he'll be going back overseas, going to Crete, and then eventually back to Iraq, and threw out the first pitch tonight. And we can't thank him and his fellow soldiers, men and women of the armed forces, for everything they do for us. And be safe, Brian.
Pop back and foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. That was a fun night and a fun telecast that we had.
Yeah, he was wearing his Cardinal uniform there at Camp Dangerous. That was a very, very special time, and I know a lot of families that have soldiers in the military really appreciate that. So do the soldiers themselves.
2 balls and a strike as the innings are piling up this season for Chris Carpenter. He came in the top 4 in innings pitched at 154 to third. That one is line foul.
It's over 160 now. There again.
The guy has just been a workhorse this year.
Did you see what his numbers are in night games?
That's
how about
incredible.
this? 9-1 with a 1.29 ERA, best in the National League in night games. And here he is, trying to better that mark. He's ranks among the National League top 5 in wins. He's first with 15. ERA, he's second best. Strikeouts, he came in at third. Innings pitched fourth. Winning percentage third.
Only 21 balls tonight. Over 80 pitches for Carpenter this evening. The pitch variance and the speeds, the high of 94, the low of 71.
23 miles an hour. So, and remember, they all have good movement, boring action.
2-2 is popped up again by Alex Gonzalez, out of play and in the seats. Talk about hitting the spot. Let's see where Mr. Mahoney wanted this baseball.
Remember, this is the breaking ball too. So not only is he hitting the spot, it's at the end of the strike zone, making him reach, but it's also moving downward. And he can run pitches in on. You know, the shocking thing for me, and I say this with affection, is, you know, that he has a little bit of a mean streak. But you know what? He hasn't hit a batter this year. That tells you how good his control is. He can pitch inside, and yet nothing gets away from him. And yet, if called upon, or if he wanted to, he could take care of a lot of business and do a lot of protection. Didn't want the cutter, throws the curveball.
2-2 pitch.
There, he got it. I gave him it. I told you he had a mean streak.
Well, it was a curveball that got away by Carpenter on a hot night. He's sweating out there, and a couple of those curveballs have been high and have gotten away from Carpenter, but you told us this was going to happen at some point.
Oh,
sure enough,
I told you he could do it, but obviously this was not intentional, and you can see his reaction to it. But the thing is, there's a lot of batters, because a few of those balls get away or something like that, or they also know his presence out there, they don't dig in against it.
First base runner for the Marlins since all the way back in the third. It was a 2-out hit by Luis Castillo back in the third.
And isn't that amazing? All the pitches he's thrown and how effective he's been. The first batter he's hit all year.
We'll love a double play here. Mahoney throws down to first, as the batter is Chris Aguirre. Part of a double switch last inning.
Gia was recalled from Albuquerque on the 5th this month, where he batted .355, 7 home runs, 25 RBIs in 35 games.
Gets him to reach, and it's popped up. Shallow center. Grudzielanek drops it, but they've got a force play at second. 4-8-6 on the putout as Grudzielanek catches a break.
Well, actually, Jim Edmonds should have called him off and should have made that play.
So force out, 4-8-6. Cardinal Baseball is a production of Bud Sports and an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Nowhere for Gonzalez to go.
Well, he was trapped there, and the reason that Jim could recover so quickly is because he should have called off the second baseman, backpedaling, made the play much easier with him coming in than an infielder backing up.
Here's Juan Pierre. Fastball, then a strike. Pierre has grounded out to second, grounded out to short, doubled and scored to start the ball game back in the first.
Bunted him over to third, and then a little sac fly, so that's how dominant.
And this one is hit into deep right center field.
It's Juan Pierre.
And Short Taguchi is there. Cardinals will have Grudzielanek, Rodriguez, Nunez coming up. It's 3-1 St. Louis. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Bud Light, great taste for your great times. And by Pontiac, brought to you by the first ever Pontiac G6. Go to www.pontiac.com. Mark Grudzielanek will lead it off for the Cardinals in their half of the 8th. St. Louis with a lead of 3-1. As Malone got the final man in the bottom of the 7th, that was Jim Edmonds to fly to right. He pitched an inning and a third last night. Lefty getting loose right now for the Marlins, so that's Vargas out there.
Finally get to see him. There he is. Malone pitched in 52 games with Seattle, and now 2 already with his new club, his 9th club.
Grudzielanek is safe at first. No one wanted it. And the crowd of 43,557 applauds the effort by the Cardinals second baseman with an infield hit. Tomorrow, Matt Morris and Josh Beckett in game 3 of this 4-game set. Live coverage of Cardinals tonight at 6:30. The play-by-play at 7. There's Beckett visiting with Delgado. And now it's John Rodriguez. Rodriguez was 2 for 3 last night. An intentional walk was issued to Rodriguez for the 2nd game in a row. And this guy has been a spark plug since he's been called up with 8 extra base hits, 5 doubles, 3 home runs, and a .667 slugging percentage in his 14 games. He's been fun to watch.
Hits in his first 12 starts. Alone on that last one, maybe a deep conine a little bit as first baseman, as he appeared that he was going to get there and field it. Then he never really bypassed the conine coming in and get to the bag so he could flip it to him going by, and Grudzielanek extends his hitting streak to 6 games. Really leaning. Kind of a one-way lean, trying to make him think he was going to go.
Grudzielanek with 7 stolen bases on the year. Count is 1 ball, no strikes, and John Rodriguez. Outfield is deep for him. 2-0. Mother raised him in New York, and she's still awaiting to see him in person in a big league game. John was saying he's going to wait a while, but for her to visit St. Louis, his uncle has had a chance to see him, some friends as well, in person. That may have got him on the forearm or the hand, and it did. He's hit by the pitch. And that's the 2nd time that Malone has gone up and in. Let's hope that Rodriguez is all right. The other time it was Edmonds.
I think Vallone was really paying a lot of close attention to Grizzolonic and alters his control to the plate. It wasn't that bad. It just looked like it was just well, Tony can't stand anybody to throw the ball up, as he's been beamed a couple times, and his rule of thumb is if you're going to hit somebody, you're going to do something, you keep the ball down. You do it in the legs, but it wasn't intentional. Keep the ball down is what he's saying. Jack McKeon's too old to go out there and say, hey, stay away from my players.
Another one up and in to Rodriguez. Here comes Tony again.
It's Tony's way of just protecting and stuff like this, but the umpire saying he had no intent to hit him. I saw Tony react this way, and I went to him one time and I said, I know you were hit in the head. And he said, absolutely, you've been hit twice. I had to, the way for him to react this way. He gets upset with his own pitcher's throw up there.
Chance of Tony here at Busch Stadium. Jack McKeon a visit with the home plate umpire.
Yeah, the home plate umpire just feels like, wherever I do, I can't win. I can appease one side and I'll get the other side mad at me, and if I say the wrong thing, they're both at me.
I didn't see him. I don't know if you did, Al. Did the home plate umpire warn Vallone?
I don't think so. And he doesn't need to.
Tony might disagree with you.
Well, no, because
two pitches up and in.
Well, an umpire never has to warn anybody because they've convoluted the whole rule. If he ever thinks somebody deliberately is trying to hit somebody, he has the right to throw him out whether he's been warned or not.
Runners at first and second. Here's Nunez. He bunts it down the third base line. Low. Only play to first. And the runners advance to second and third. And an RBI opportunity for Mahoney. The sacrifice good by Nunez. Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC.
They will intentionally pass Mahoney, setting up a bases loaded 1-out situation, and they're not going to pinch hit for Carpenter. Carpenter's got enough runs right now at 3-1, but he could help himself. How many times have we squeezed?
Countless.
But you turn around and squeeze and you throw one up and in.
Now I see where you're going with it.
Even if that was the case, I would be very cautious to even think about it, because that's what a lot of pitchers are instructed. If somebody turns around to squeeze, throw up and in.
Hey, I agree with you that, in my opinion, he shouldn't be warned. But now with modern day baseball, it seems like if any guy is hit in any situation, even if it doesn't make sense, both sides are warned, whether it's right or wrong.
And then they create a problem, as Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, would come out and talk to Vallone. I got a right-hander warming up. Got Mota. So this will allow Mota enough time to warm up if they want to make a pitching change. And Mark Wiley might want to have a few comments. Nope, he didn't have any.
I thought that's exactly what he's doing, waiting for the home plate umpire.
Stay out there long enough and say, hey, let me tell you about pitching. But you don't see where an umpire gets in trouble, Dan, is when he warns them.
Yeah.
And then they don't throw him out if a guy intentionally or unintentionally hits somebody, and then you really got a problem.
Exactly. Well, the bases are loaded. The infield is drawn in, and the batter is Carpenter. First pitch is way outside.
You know, Tony, it changes from pitch to pitch, but he never squeezes on the first one.
Here comes a runner from third. A strike on Carpenter. Safe at the plate. Unbelievable slide, and now they're going to say he's out with the interference from the hitter Carpenter.
You're sending him back. Interference. Now we got an argument. Well, see, there with the pitch inside, and that's where you get the reaction from the hitter. Very hard to stay in there. Come inside on him. Oh, but I mean, Carpenter's standing in the batter's box. He doesn't have to get out of the way. See Grizzolani coming in there. Getting out of the way, and look at the pitch is so far inside. Now he doesn't know he tried to back up, so that's what they're saying, but it was all unintentional. But you can see how they say the interference. Gets out of the way, now he's down there, and they're saying now he threw his hip in it, but I think it was totally unintentional, but yes, it is interference.
Mike Martz would be proud of that block.
They're going to at least get in a conference here, but.
And the way this should be handled is that the bases remain loaded. Carpenter is out. Everybody goes back to their original bag, and then you have David Eckstein digging in with 2 outs.
And see the 3 umpires, they kind of got together there before, and now Jerry Davis, the crew chief, right here, is asking, okay, Tony, what's your problem? And I think what, you know, when I first saw it, I said, he's in the batter's box. He's not really getting out of the way, but pitches inside, kind of throws his leg out, then he gets tangled up with the catcher, and he does kind of block him, allowing a lane for him to come inside. It's unintentional, but I think it's still the rule will stand.
Brian Dempster of the Cubs struck out Tomas Perez for the final out as Chicago holds on for a 2-1 win despite walking 4 consecutive Phillies. And the Phillies half of the 9th, and Chicago holds on 2-1. Cardinals will try to hold on as we play here in the bottom of the 8th. Some insurance would be nice. 3-1 St. Louis. Another look at the squeeze.
See, inside, now he gets kind of tangled up, and LaDuca tries to go around him. Why did he try to do that? Why don't you go right back to home plate? But he tried to go around the backside of Carpenter and cut him off instead of going to the plate and going towards third. So the play will stand. They're going to at least conference some more on it. Why is McKeon arguing here? Unless they may then change it.
I thought I read one of the lips of the umpire. He was addressing with the other umpire, and he said, "Are you sure that's it? Are you sure that's it?" Trying to figure out exactly what the right call is in this situation.
Well, you know what? He may be trying to get a double play.
Exactly.
That's what he's trying to get.
Interference. Carpenter is out. Then does it go to a dead ball? And that's why the runners go back to their original bag.
Right.
So bases loaded for David Eckstein. Ron Malone had to take a couple of tosses just to stay loose on top of that mound. And Chris Carpenter, all he can do is watch until the 9th inning.
Give the put out to the catcher. and see if David can break it open.
Eckstein 0 for 2 in this ball game. David pulls it foul. Good rip at that one. Some insurance would be nice. Marlins will have Castillo, Conine, and Cabrera coming up in the top of the ninth. Hit to the second baseman. The Cardinals will strand. The bases loaded for the second time tonight. Carpenter back to work. Ninth inning coming up. Castillo, Conine, Cabrera will face Chris Carpenter when we come back. Cardinals with a lead of 3-1. Our game recap is brought to you by Bank of America, the official bank of Major League Baseball. Dontrelle Willis goes 5 innings, gives up 3 runs. Chris Carpenter on the other side has been once again magnificent tonight. Catching that comebacker there. He's allowed just 2 hits. John Gall with his first Major League RBIs in this ball game. That made it 2-1. The Cardinals would add another one, and they lead it 3-1. Chris Carpenter out. I know you were paying attention. As everybody was trotting off the field, he was the first man sprinting to his position here in the ninth. He had taken already 3 warm-up tosses before any of the Cardinals had taken to the field.
Absolutely. Diaz had to, backup catcher had to run out and warm him up, but he was focused on what his job is.
0-2 pitch to Castillo. Little chopper. Gritzelanic. 1 away. Midwest Sports Report coming up. Let's check in and get a preview from Brent. Strike 1 to Jeff Conine.
Strike, strike, strike.
Trying to get as masterful as we've seen Carpenter all season.
Yeah, trying to get his 5th complete game. He's got 4 shutouts.
He gets his 5th. That will match his counterpart tonight, Dontrelle Willis. 0-2 the count on Jeff Conine.
Become the first 16-game winner in the big leagues. 16-4, 10-1 in night games.
0-2 pitch outside at 89 miles an hour. On deck, Cabrera. You'd like to see him come up with nobody on.
Well, you still got defensive swings as guys are just trying to make contact.
Only hits for Florida tonight. Leadoff double by Juan Pierre back in the first, and a single by Castillo in the third.
They want the cutter, fastball in.
And a ground ball left side. Eckstein off his glove.
Base hit.
Now, after that base hit, the tying run will come to the plate in the form of Cabrera. We'll play the game brought to you by Bud Light. Great taste for your great times. Third hit for Florida tonight. And we could have chosen so many of the strikeouts and great pitches by Carpenter. That one of Gonzalez. He got him twice tonight. That was back in the 5th inning.
6 strikeouts on the night, giving him 151 on the year. Haven't turned to double play. It's a breaking ball, that curveball that got away, but the crowd loved it.
At one point, he had set down 14 straight in this ball game until he hit a man. That was Gonzalez back in the 8th inning.
And that was on a curveball that got away. See him trying to dry his hands again. Got a new rosin bag an inning or so ago.
1-1 the count. Cabrera digging in the top 10 in home runs. He's got 23 on the year.
Trying to slow things down a little bit as he's kind of jumping off the mound.
Count of 1 ball, 1 strike. Great play by Mahoney.
You've got a lot of adrenaline flow, and you're kind of wearing down a little bit. You're trying to short circuit some of your pitches. Try and do it more with your body than with your arm.
Jason Isringhausen getting loose in the bullpen.
Yeah, just you got to do that just a precaution. You're as dominant as you've been. There's the cutter.
The 2-1 pitch. Lifted out to right field, and it's going to be caught for out number 2.
Well, I worried for a second that Taguchi took off on the run coming in, but that ball might take off and get over his head.
And now this sold-out crowd will rise to their feet. 43,557 in attendance tonight at Busch for Game 2.
Now this ballpark in its 40th year and final year has seen a lot of great pitching performances and seen a lot of great pitching years, but we may be seeing another Cy Young award here.
2 outs, and the first pitch is fouled by LaDuca. He's 0 for 3 tonight. He struck out twice. As you mentioned, Al Carpenter has struck out 6. He's allowed just 3 hits. He's hit a man. He has walked 1 and given up just 1 run all the way back in the first. Again, he has just been unbelievable tonight. What a 1. Carpenter with those 6 strikeouts now at 151, and just 4 back of Pedro Martinez for the league lead. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Outside. 2-1.
Doug Eddings, home plate umpire, it seemed like at times he's had a high strike, but he's had a consistent strike zone and a very good one all day.
Play behind that runner at first. The 2-1 delivery. LaDuca, ground ball. It is a fair ball. Nunez to first. The pick by Pujols, and the Cardinals win it. Chris Carpenter, another magnificent performance. He's 16-4. Win number 67 for the Cardinals. These two have split the first 2 of this 4-game set. Will come your way tomorrow once again at 6:30. Stay around. Plenty to come from Busch. Midwest Sports Report is coming up.